No heroes. No heroes. No heroes, baby.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another No Heroes event breakdown. I'm the Eggman, and today we're going to be going over their top 32 deck list for their in-person Fusion World Regionals that happened this past weekend. It was over 200 players and has this top 32 that we see here today. And a couple things before we get started. First, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm a content creator here on YouTube for Bandai Card Games. I also run this website, Eggman Events, which has all of these deck lists that we're going over today and others from set 2 and other Fusion World sets, so make sure to check that out if you haven't. And then also the No Heroes team also live streamed this on their Twitch and will be re-uploading individual matches here on their YouTube as well. So if you haven't hit that like and subscribe, you definitely should, so you get the notifications when they make new content. They've made other kind of contents and interviews from this event as well, so you can also make sure to check those out too. So anyways, getting into this event as it is, we did have, again, over 200 players, 8 rounds of Swiss into a top 32 cut, and of that top 32, we did have 20 of the new top Goku, 8 copies of Beerus, 1 of each one of the blue leaders that exist in this game, being the Trunks Future, Goku Black, Vegeta, and Zamasu Fused. And generally from what I've kind of thought about going into this weekend, since there were a lot of events going around North America and also just other regions in the world, is that Top Ku was the best deck from the set, and I think that's been shown for every event from there. 20 is honestly maybe on the low side. It's definitely a very strong deck. And then additionally, Beerus is just kind of like a little bit more of a control-y flavor of Top Ku. Obviously, Beerus doesn't have like the ability to play cards freely as Goku can, but it does have like a lot of pressure from the critical and more removal with the leader effect as well. And then I think from there, Blue is just in a good spot to potentially be able to counter or at least slow down the red decks. We do have a good amount of control options, ways to kind of get some minor board clears for their 3 and 4 drops that they play off their Kefla. The Kefla 4 drop, playing the 3 drop, getting rid of both with the sickle, I think, is strong to slow them down, and it's not too surprising for there. And then yellow and green, I mean, they did get a lot of support from this set, but they are just not in a situation or a spot where they can play against red, since it's just so aggressive, so fast, and they just really need a little bit of setup to get there. So anyways, we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders, starting off with our champion, which is Lekeli, who's ending up using Beerus. And Beerus was a mirror match at the end. We're also going to go quickly over our runner-up, which is Francesco's version of it as well. It's pretty similar. Only big difference is your super combo choice, right? If you want to play Kaba or if you want to play Shin. Sometimes I've seen some builds play the one-drop searchers events or extra cards for either for Universe 6 or Universe 7, so that kind of makes a difference if you want to play Shin or Kaba. But yeah, these are near identical lists, just functionally identical lists for what this is. And yeah, this deck is very strong. If I think Roshi being able to help awaken us is strong, because sometimes you don't want to be stuck on the backside or the front side of Beerus, because it is crit pressure, which is nice, but you do need some more cycle. We play a little bit slower, a little bit more control, which means we are playing 3 copies of each one of these Whis, which are great for putting things into range for removal, or even just getting rid of some one drops on the other side. We have some awakening with the Khalifa. No copies of Hit, which I think is a little interesting. I usually put them in my builds just because it does work really well with their leader ability at times. And then we do have our Kefla package of being able to play the Kefla, the Sun Gohan Adolescence, as well as the Android 17. So I also like Katsupesla sometimes in the spot, because it does help you. Again, it synergizes with their leader effect really nicely. But we are playing the Sun Goku 3-drop, which is great. You can't play it off the Kefla, but being able to get rid of a 20k power less or a 30k power less when your opponent, if you have your leader ability, is quite good. It's great for getting rid of Gohans, and again with leader effect, being able to get rid of opposing Keflas. And then our top end is 2 copies of Rumshi, which is 10k. It's not as strong, but being able to get rid of 1 card 30k power less is great. As well as the Beerus, which is able to get rid of the whole board. So this is great for like the mirror match or playing against red, where you can clear their entire board for 1 card. You have a 35k crit, which you don't really mind hitting into your opponent either, and it just gets a lot of value for you. We do also have the Sun Goku as well for just double strike, because sometimes Beerus isn't as great at finishing the game because we can't play Ribrianne as easily in this deck, so that's helpful there. And then lastly, Glimpse of a Hidden Arrogance. I don't always put this in my Beerus builds because it's a little bit trickier to find 2 energy to play this card, but man, it's great. Even just being able to find another copy of Kefla to play the next turn is good. Being able to be at plus 25k power on one of your cards is fantastic. You can, make a 1-drop. You can play Basil for 1. You find it, you put it on it, you become a 30k attack with it, and then you're able to get like a Kefla from your drop too. So generally, I think this deck is pretty good. I tend to lean a little bit more to the Beerus playstyle than Goku, and it's just very, very strong at like removal and kind of setting the tempo, especially like in a mirror match or against Top Ku as well. So these are the builds. Congratulations to both our champions and our runner-up. So next up we have our top 4. So the other of the top 4 are 2 Goku. So we've got Christian's build as well as Can, and shouts to Can from the No Heroes team for topping this event as well. But we do have these, and I will say, like, we looked, right? There's like a 20 out of 32 of the same leader. That's a little bit bad, but I will say, like, the silver lining for it is that if you look through these builds, there's a lot of individual choices for cards. There's enough of the card pool where people can make different choices for their decks. And unless you're like on the same team and practicing and playing with each other, most people will have individual different decks and ratios, which I think is interesting. Like the card pool is large enough and flexible enough where you can make these individual choices of what cards you think are the best in each situation. So we went over a lot of these cards in the Beerus, but I will say some additional cards that I like for this deck is obviously we got to play Rebrian because it's our finisher. Rebrian and Glimpse is such a strong card. Like your opponent cannot go to 2 unless they have like 3 super combos in hand, because Rebrian can just clean out the game very, very easily. So I think that's very strong. So again, this is Christian list, and looking at Can's list has a little bit more of the, I would say, the counter for the mirror match in the sense that we do have, again, the Beerus in this one, which is a great board wipe for the deck. And then also the God Kamehameha. Being able to get rid of a Kefla for 1 energy is pretty great. Generically, your opponent's trying to clear your board too, so being able to just play this for 1, get rid of the Kefla, and then attack into the Gohan is good too. So I think that's helpful for it. We are also seeing like the Fua in Can's build for it, and being able to again get the removal. But there are just some tech choices for it. I think this game is great. Dragon Ball in general, especially like the original Masters version of the card game. I think it was one of the key tenets for it was being able to have these flex spots for cards, and I think that's still true in this game. Even though we know that Goku's the strongest deck, I don't think we're going to find like the best build for it for a couple weeks, if not just still having like an evolving meta, which I think is really cool. So again, these are both Christians and Can's list for it, and congratulations for their top 4. And then going to the blue decks, we're going to look at all 4 of them. We're going to start with Yorha's version of Trunks Future. And I really like the idea of Trunks Future. We also got some like really interesting support in this, where we do have cost reduction in this game, which never really came to Dragon Ball Masters, the previous card game that again is still playing. But being able to use this card to bottom deck a 1 or less, but if the permanent, if you have 7 or less, it bombs a 2 or less, which is great. So, but that permanent to be able to reduce the cost of everything by 1 means that you can use your leader ability Trunks on bigger and bigger targets. So the activate main can now bottom deck or return to hand a 4 or less, which is great. And then additionally, we have like this My Future, which not only is a 10k Earthling card, that's a 1-drop, which is important for our Pilafs, but also reduces the cost of something by 1. So that means you can additionally get things like you can bounce a 4-drop to hand. If you have a Vegito and a Mai, you get to bounce a 5 back to hand, which is really great. We do have like the new, not the new Vegeta, but we do have the Goku Black, which honestly I thought this card was not great. It's pretty good, especially since, again, if we are able to play turn 3 Vegito into turn 4 Goku Black, being able to on attack bottom deck a 3 or less is really strong too. So I like the ad for that one. We do go to late game, so we do have some copies of Zeno, and even if we don't go to late games, the 10k, which is very strong, and then a good amount of these extra cards. So most interesting one is this Awakening to Super Saiyan Rose. I've messed with this card a little bit. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet, but it does have like some kind of okay synergies. It's just really trait dependent in a game that we don't really focus on it a lot. But it says activate main, choose all your cards with Earthling in their special traits in their battle areas and return them to their owner's hand. So it's both players. Then if you return 3 or more cards, you get to draw 2 cards. So It's an interesting way to draw too. You can obviously like play one drop peel off, cycle it a couple times, and then put them back to hand. So it's like a big value swing. Also, for looking at red, the premier Earthling card is this 3 drop Sun Gohan Adolescence. Being able to return that card to hand isn't terrible. Topku is going to be able to play it again for pretty cheap, but that's something impactful. You can also put their Roshis back into hand sometimes, which can prevent them from like awakening in some scenarios. But I think that's just something just to show like that what that hits for it. But generally, like being able to play your Mai's, your Pilafs, your Sun Gotens, get their effects, even your Trunks use, being able to return them the hand, and then get the additional card draw afterwards. It's a good value swing. I don't know if it's too expensive or too slow, but I think it's something interesting, and obviously it worked enough to get to top 16. So again, this is your house build. Congratulations to their finish with the Trunks Future. And then next up, we've got Goku Black, and I did my own regionals here in North America this past weekend. I played Goku Black with a little bit less success, but I do think the deck has some good matchups into Topku, and just the fact that we did get a good amount of support with this new set. I think the most impactful cards are this 1-drop Zamasu. It's pretty much what the deck needs to be able to go into your combo a little bit more consistently. Not only does it find Goku Blacks, but it's another like 1-drop version of Zamasu. So being able to play this on turn 5, be able to search top 5, find the 6-drop, and then go into it all in the same turn as long as you're awakened, I think is great. Also in kind of like a resource management kind of situation where it's easy for this deck to be 7 or less, so we get all of our effects for free, without having to really over combo a lot of the times, as well as just the fact that if we don't want to awaken their leader or we want to deny our opponent's resources, we're great because we're a crit leader and we can hit into 20Ks for free as well. So other things that we have, like 2-drop Zamasu is great. It gets removed by red a little bit too easy. If red was a little bit less in the format, I think this would be strong because green and yellow don't have fantastic ways to remove it. Blue also can't get rid of it because it can't be bounced back to hand, so I think that's really strong. Then we also have like the Zamasu Fuse, which I think is great. Again, red gets rid of it, unfortunately, but like green, they really can't interact with this card. Blue can, yellow has like a bit of a tough time. So, but the card draws for it is fantastic. It's a 4-drop, so our 6-drop can play it off of our hand for free. And your opponent's just gonna like some of the time they have to just like focus all their resources to remove this, or just stays on board for a really long time. The only other kind of flex spot we see is like Trunks Future. I also like 3-drop Vegeta in this, so it's like either or. This hits obviously taller targets, but it also doesn't bottom deck it, which is rough. It's also a 20k versus a 25, but it also does help us self-awaken if we need it. So I don't hate it as like just a way to slow our opponents down for removal, but it is sometimes a little bit slow for that one. But I don't know. I don't hate it. I just haven't done a lot of testing with that myself. So other than that, I think the deck is great. I really like Goku Black. I think there's been a lot of builds I've seen already, and I'm looking forward to more builds in the future, and I hope it continues to top in the next couple weeks as well. So again, this is Sabir's list, and congratulations for their top 16 with Goku Black. And then going to our top 32s, we have Buri here with the Vegeta. I think if you ask most people what was the best blue deck going into this weekend, I think most would say starter deck Vegeta. It's just generically very good. Being able to be a 35k with pressure is fantastic. I do think also the new Vegeta is just very strong, being able to buff itself and your leader to make it a 35 and 40k swing between the two of them if you use your leader effect, which you would. And then also you play a 1-drop Bulma, which gives plus 10k to something, and then you can combo it off for an extra 10k. So you just get some like really good like number pressure. You kind of like force them to respect how like big you can hit. And then also like one of the weaknesses for Topku is that it is awakening at 3 life, which means they have to like respect the attacks you're putting into their life, because at any time if they go down to 1, they just lose. Being able to peel off loop, make your leader 35k and all the extra numbers you get, it's just not great. And if they stay at 2, you're still playing like the 4-drop or the 5-cost Vegeta to be a double striker as well. So I think that like if you're trying to approach blue into this format, I think this is a great deck for that. Being able to see what blue's able to do, being able to have a win condition in the end, like on the leader, is fantastic as well, because I think some of the like Trunks sometimes and like Goku Black, if you're able to find 6-drop, you can finish the game. But Trunks and Zamasu sometimes has a little bit of a harder time doing so. Vegeta doesn't. Vegeta can at any point, again, 35k leader helps you a lot. It puts a lot of pressure on your opponent and can definitely grind them out as well. So I don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Buri for their finish with Vegeta, and I think we'll see a good amount of Vegeta in the next couple weeks as well. And then our last deck of the video is Fenya with their copy of Zamasu Fused. Honestly, I think that Zamasu is in a really good spot in this format in general. It is a control deck, and we did have to kind of like control decks are rarely good on day one for events like these. So now that we kind of know what the meta looks like and then what we need to counter and everything else, I think that Zamasus can kind of try to approach like what's the best way to beat Topku or Red, what are the cards that we need, and get from there. So generally, when I see this deck played, we want to play like just a really slow control match. We just want to like you combo early. You make sure that you try to get value from like Gallic Guns early, just to get out of attacks, get the cycle, not lose your hand advantage. Zeno is like a really good board clear. It gets rid of all your opponent's stuff. Which is helpful for us. We have removal in the Sickle as well as the Absolute Lightning. We get extra cards back from our Piccolos, which is handy so we can find more copies of Gallic Gun or Absolute Lightning or whatever else we need to see. And then just some high-end control cards like Vegito, Secret Rare, Vegeta for an end condition. And also 6-drop Goku Black. Like, even if we pay 6 for this, there's some really good targets that we get to play from this kind of board that we have. So I think that's strong. It helps us generate resources. Even if like the card we need is like a peel off from our trash, we can play that, and then we had like a Vegito 3-drop in our hand already too. So last card is the Vegito promo. When attacking, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, you can choose one battle card, cost of 2 or less, return to its owner's hand. So this is great for tempo too. It's a 10k, so you're not really upset with playing this card, and I think it's not too bad either. So again, like just you play the long game, you play the slow game, and then you make it just so it's difficult for them to hit you. 25k leaders still are strong in a lot of matchups. Red not so, because Gohan and Kefla get to 25k for free, but because we have so many removal targets, I think Zamasu is geared to be one of the better control decks in this game, and it's just going to be like finding the 50 or so cards that make sense for it as well. So that is the build there. Congratulations to Fenya for it. And that's going to be it for this video. Again, if you guys want any of these deck lists, they're all going to be on Eggman Events, which is going to be linked in the description. And again, thank you to noHEROES for letting me do this video for them and just everything in general. So make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to check out their other videos for the Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World. And that's going to be it for me.